how much we've been ripped off over the last few years.
It's a good question. The introduction of competition to the Perth gas market has, for some, seen the price of gas plummet as Alinta and Clean Heat ignite the battle for your dollar.
I was approached by a young lass who said, "Would you like some money off your gas bill?"
Pensioner Mike Mulroy was approached by Clean Heat Gas as part of a promotion in a shopping centre. He signed up for a discount deal, but it wasn't long before the competition came calling.
A few days later, Alinta phoned me up and said, "I hear you wanted to swap to Clean Heat." And I says, "Well, yeah, why not? You know, they're offering me a discount." And he says, "Well, what can we do to keep you?" I said, "Well, better the offer. It's as simple as that, you know." So he offered me $60 off my first bill, and then $20 off my bill for the next 2 years, totalling, I think, $200 altogether.
Mike Mulroy says when it comes to your gas bill, it's a case of don't ask, don't get.
Don't believe that surprise, just say, what's the best deal?
But while the fight is on for residential customers, a battle royal is about to be waged over gas from our northwest shelf. Contracts are due to expire, and an agreement that secures 15% of the gas for our domestic market is almost up.
I think mums and dads are already questioning how can it be that a resource-rich nation like Australia and a resource-rich state like Western Australia is facing a shortage of gas in 5 years' time.
Matt Brown from Dom Gas Alliance is lobbying for a deal that will secure future gas supplies for industry when the current agreement expires in 2020. While WA is rich in gas reserves, the bulk of it is destined for export markets like Japan and China.
Traditionally, Western Australian taxpayers underwrote the North West Shelf project with the specific goal of setting up an LNG export industry, but also to bring gas into our local market. We heavily invested in it. Now, some 30 years later, the major oil and gas producers have decided they don't need the domestic market anymore, and they would prefer only to service the export market.
The gas you turn on at home and the gas which fires our power stations and big industry like Alcoa is piped down the Dampier to Bunbury pipeline. The gas is part of the LNG production. Under government legislation, 15% of the supply must be sold into the domestic market.
State governments in Western Australia have actually been proactive in trying to ensure that some of this gas, a small but fair share, comes into the domestic market to grow jobs, to support our industry. Canberra's been less interested in standing up to the big oil and gas producers. Canberra seems to be quite happy for us to export all of our gas offshore rather than bringing it into Western Australia.
But the oil and gas industry sees it very differently. It describes the gas reservation policy as a crude form of protectionism, saying that it discourages investment in future gas projects. Policies that dictate where and how gas can be sold represent a further barrier to investment. But Matt Brown says he believes the real risk to WA is soaring gas prices and potential job losses.
We're not asking for the whole lot. And what the Western Australian experience has shown is that you can have a lucrative, profitable LNG export industry while at the same time putting gas into the domestic economy. It's about striking a balance.
In a statement to Today Tonight, the Premier said the supply of gas post-2020 is a major concern for the state government and for industry, particularly in terms of the volumes required to underpin mineral processing and power generation. Colin Barnett says the government has worked to secure domestic supplies, including BHP Billiton's Macedon project and Apache's Devil Creek project, both of which supply 100% of their gas to the domestic market. It's also continuing negotiations over domestic components of LNG projects. Matt Brown says a similar commitment is now needed from Canberra.
It's unfathomable. And I think in 5 years' time, a lot of Australians are going to be waking up and wondering why our national government didn't put Australia's industry and Australian jobs first when it came to deciding energy policy.